Askreddit, married couples who sleep in separate rooms, why do you do this? My parents do this. My mom likes to sleep with the TV on, my dad snores and steals sheets. My mother claims sleeping separately saved their marriage. Sounds like me and my husband, except my husband doesn't steal the sheets. He lays on them and I have to either wake him up or use all my strength to pull the sheets from under him. My grandma and granddad do. She likes it freezing and he likes it boiling. Related but not, my grandparents may share a bed but they do have separate margarine containers. He's a scraper, likes to keep the top of the margarine smooth. She just digs the knife in. They've been married 50-something years and have had this two-margarine system for as long as I remember. Girlfriend's parents do this. They both snore and do it to get away from each other's snoring. I didn't think it was that bad until they talked about having to sleep in the same bed during their trip in Europe. They were at each other's throats because if one fell asleep, the other couldn't. Had a roommate in a hotel that snored so loud we would drag him sleeping into the bathroom and close the door. He seriously sounded like a snoring cartoon. Different sleep cycles and work schedules. He wakes up 3 hours before me. I'm a shift worker. She's a teacher. During the summer I moved to another room we call the wind tunnel. Basically I have a ceiling fan going almost 24/7 and a window fan above the bed I run from 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. She has allergies and easily gets runny nose and sneezes from any moving air. My body temp will skyrocket and I'll sweat like crazy in a room devoid of moving air. So she sleeps in a stuffy no air movement master bedroom and I sleep soundly in the wind tunnel. During the winter I move back cause then I become the ultimate body warmer for her. Dude, check out Bedjet Edit. Fuck, I wish they had a referral program. Bedjet lol edit 2, YouTube to the hilarious commercial. My stepmother's parents took this to a new level. He built a second house next door. They lived next to each other for 20 years before they both passed in a short amount of time. It seemed very odd to me, but it worked for them. At least from an outside perspective. I know images never reflect reality. Not exactly the same, but I had a great aunt and uncle who had some kind of huge disagreement early in their marriage and never spoke to each other again even though they lived together. They slept in different rooms, and he spent most of his time at home in his garden. She took care of the house, cooked his meals, did his laundry, etc. etc. He went to work and paid the bills. At family gatherings the men would hang out with the husband in one room and the women with the wife in another. They remained married that way the rest of their lives. When he died she was apparently utterly devastated. We're both 41, been married 23 years and sleep in different beds. First half of our marriage we always slept in the same bed. Of course there was the occasional crying kid who wanted mommy to sleep with them, or falling asleep on the couch or somewhere else. About 10 years ago I spent a year working a midnight shift so I started sleep on our spare bed in the basement. We both realized we had much better sleep separate in our own beds. After I went back to a day shift we went back to sleeping in the same bed and soon realized sleeping apart was more restful. Over time we bought 2 full-size beds and put them in our bedroom, like the old TV shows. It's been great. Edit, so a lot of comments about intimacy. Yeah, we have sex, I'd say every bit as much as we ever did in the past. We've been married over half our life so we are really good at knowing when fun time is going to happen. Sometimes we sleep in the same bed, there is no rules, we have to sleep separately all the time. Our beds are about a foot apart and sometimes we slide them together, especially when the kids were younger and they'd end up in our room, along with the dog. Edit 2, yes, we got married at 18. We went to prom together and girlfriend somehow got pregnant after prom when we stopped for soda. So we got married. Spouse snores, 2 60-pound dogs, and a queen-size bed. No room for me and I need dead silence. You want dead silence and have 2 dogs sleeping on your bed? If I even try to sleep on the couch in another room I will wake up to her on top of me. That's funny but sweet as hell. My parents slept in separate beds as did my great-grandparents. For my great-grandparents it was a comfort thing. Grandma didn't like not being able to move around the bed at will. She and Grandpa loved each other dearly and she passed not long after he did because she missed him so much. For my parents it was a couple things. As my dad aged his sleep cycle went weird. He would be able to sleep a couple hours and then be up half the night and fall asleep again about the time my mom was getting up for work. Also my mom has sleep apnea and uses a CPAP. It made hella noise back then. Dad was half deaf and the sound still bothered him. Out of respect for each other they decided it was better to have separate bedrooms. This makes me feel better about my husband and I not sharing a bed. Haha. Some people act like that means your marriage is falling apart. Honestly it helps us love each other more because I'm not up multiple times a night with his tossing and turning and he's not up all night listening to my snoring. My wife has MS, one of the primary issues she has is vertigo. When I'm in the bed with her, the motion of my breathing, heartbeat, movement really fracks with her vertigo while she sleeps. Also, I snore, so an isolated coil mattress wouldn't quite do it. They aren't total isolation, either, you feel movement, or two beds in one room. Also, honestly, it spices up the sex life, adds an element of pursuit and some illicit atmosphere to it. We're sneaking around the house to each other's beds to bang. This sounds encouraging. Every story that I have read so far seems really positive in the sleep section, but I was wondering what happened with the sexy time. It sounds really cool that it spices up things. Sometimes I have to sleep on the couch cause I get hypersensitive to sound, especially human sound, and don't like the noise his whole existence makes. He gets it luckily. Misophonia real thing. It bothered me as a kid. But I really noticed noises when I came back from overseas. Hypersensitive now. I am actually surprised misophonia has not ended up being a reason for a percentage of violent crimes and disorders. I don't believe it's even on the newest DSM. He snores. I have a casual acquaintance that I know sleeps in a different room than his wife. I was curious about why, but I felt it was too personal to ask. And then we went on a bachelor party and I stayed in the same room as him. When we heard him snore, we all knew why. We blended two households. His bedroom was fully furnished and the furniture and closet were full. It made sense for my stuff to go in a different bedroom. We started out sleeping in one room or the other, but I realized pretty quickly that, if I ever wanted to get a full night's sleep, it wasn't going to be in the same bed with him. I've been known to call him a sweating, snoring, slant sleeping son of a bitch after a night of his sweating, snoring, and slant sleeping. We do it your place or mine thing for non-sleeping activities but GTFO when it's sleepy time. I've been known to call him a sweating, snoring, slant sleeping son of a bitch. Well that seems a bit harsh. After a night of his sweating, snoring, and slant sleeping. Oh, right then. Sometimes my GF and I sleep in different rooms, and the reasons often differ. Did I eat a big bean burrito earlier? Separate rooms. Just an example. Also, unless your bed is massive, sleeping with someone next to you can make it more difficult to sleep. Yes, sleeping together is romantic. But getting good sleep is more romantic. Surprised I don't see a Bowser's Big Bean Burrito joke here. Lol. I do this. I am an absolute terrible person to share a bed with. I snore like a passing semi-truck and apparently, I'm told, flail wildly in my sleep. When we first got married I kept waking up to an empty bed. She would join me for an hour until I was asleep, then retreat to the couch. After a week or two I got fed up and just went to the couch first. Then started several months of us trading off for the couch. Eventually I just went and bought a twin mattress and tossed it in the office. That became my bed. And when we got a bigger house, I just set up in a separate room. Have you been checked for sleep apnea? A lot of people don't realize they have it or how bad it's gotten until they get hooked up to a CPAP for the first time in a sleep study. Deleted. Ask your dentist about getting a night guard for grinding teeth while asleep. I have a hard time falling asleep without something to distract my brain from thinking. I usually watch a show, documentary or do some repetitive game on my phone to accomplish this. She can't stand the lights from the screen. OMG, my wife kills me with that damn phone screen at night. She can't fathom why it bothers me. Friends of mine do this. She doesn't like him and feels he's a terrible husband and father. He won't divorce her because it'll cost him his standing in the church, which is the only level of social prestige he has. He's verbally abusive and initially she did it as a wake-up call to encourage him to nicen up. It's going on its 4th year. So what that it will change his status in the church? He's a shit person. Not separate rooms, but a king bed and separate blankets. We sleep way better. I am a notorious blanket hog and he's always hot when he sleeps. Then we can be close when we want to and separate when we need a good sleep. My husband and I have used separate blankets since right after he first moved in when we were dating, for the same reasons. I'm a blanket hog and love a thick comforter. He can make do with just a thin sheet. My buddy is basically married and they have this arrangement. Basically they say they aren't one person just because they're dating. They don't want to be the couple who merges into one entity. They are two separate adults and adults have their own rooms. They're two of the most capable and competent people I've ever met in my life. They have their shit figured out. They are the reason I no longer view two separate rooms as a sign of a dysfunctional relationship. If anything, they make me think most relationships would benefit from their "let's not do literally everything together" mentality. She wants to sleep in the same room as our newborn baby to be close to him, take better care of him at night. I want to get enough sleep to function at my job. Same thing going on here, sucks but it's temporary. I'm a very kinetic sleeper, she's a very light sleeper. Can I make it any more obvious? He tossed and turned, she would just lay. What more can I say? Sleep cycles and she violently tosses around. I've been asked by my commander if I got into a fight when I showed up to duty with a black eye. Gosh, I got up one morning then came back to bed and didn't know my BF had curled up and was laying on my pillow. Elbowed him in the nose super hard, it was dark and I'm blind. It didn't break his nose but it bled a lot. I still feel bad about it. Now I very gently pat around everywhere before I crawl in bed. A few months later he elbowed me hard in the forehead on accident. XD didn't hurt at all but did startle me, haha. Okay, look, I didn't mean to punch him in the face. Or kick him in the stomach. He just kept encroaching on my 7/8 of the bed. Perfectly understandable. ITT people with undiagnosed obstructive sleep apnea. Let's get some CPAPs up in this thread. To stay married. I would say seriously, but I am serious. Other reasons: 1. She's an only child, never had to share. 2. I had a large family, don't want to share anymore. 3. She likes a soft mattress, and I like a firm one. 4. We both snore, but at different points in the night. 5. Night farts, not going to assign blame, there's plenty enough to go around. 6. Her cats don't like to share a bed with my dog. I could go on, but these are the highlights. 6 is like my main reason for wanting my own bedroom. My cat doesn't sleep with me anymore since my boyfriend and his dog moved in. They take up the whole bed and I miss my cat. I have an aunt and uncle who do this. They're just hyper-independent, mostly fueled by her, so they eat dinner together but do pretty much everything else separately. The funny part is if I send out invites to something like a family reunion or dinner reservations during somewhere when we're already gathered, he'll say, "I'm coming, but you'll need to check with your aunt for her answer." It's certainly not how my relationship works, but they've been married for like 50 years so I guess I don't have any reason to criticize their methods. Obviously I don't know details but that sounds awesome. Like it's just a permanent sleepover with your best friend. You're your own person but still have that love and support of a spouse. I can't sleep very well. Sometimes I don't at all. And when I do, I toss and tumble. It's easier on everyone if I just sleep on my own schedule and in my own bed. Sleeping in separate rooms isn't a sign of a broken relationship. I've never been in a long-term live-in relationship, and having to share a bed makes me worry. I toss and turn, it takes me forever to fall asleep, sometimes I wake up for hours with anxiety and just have to fidget and bounce my leg in bed. And all that just by myself. Can't imagine it would be any better when I have to worry about disturbing the person next to me. This thread is encouraging at least that couples can do this and be happy. My grandparents do this. My grandfather built a small apartment on the second floor of their house. They do it because they have different sleep schedules and in general they spend much of the day apart because they like it that way. But they always eat lunch and dinner together, and my grandfather loves to listen to her soft footsteps throughout the day. He calls her the woman next door. It's really cute. Edit, a word. The soft footsteps is the cutest less than. Snore, I do. Sleep, others do not. Have a married couple as friends that do it just because they love sleeping alone. They love each other. Oh, and he farts in his sleep. Everyone farts in their sleep. COMFORT. Snuggles are nice, but man, do I love having a big fat king-sized gel mattress to my damn self. We've never really shared a bed because he was on midnights forever, and when he moved to day shift I just hated having him in bed at night. Plus when he creeps in for booty, it's like we're teenagers again sneaking around. The creeping for booty. It's a thing. My partner and I have completely separate bedrooms. We sleep over occasionally in each other's rooms. However, we both find we sleep exponentially better apart. He's a night owl and I'm an early bird. He needs total darkness. I want to wake up with the sun. He wants one sheet and one sheet only on him. I want 10 pounds of blankets. In addition, having a separate room allows me to decorate it however I want, have my own personal space, and keep it to the level of cleanliness I prefer. It makes me feel independent. People look at us sideways when I mention the separate rooms thing, but it's been a game changer. I'm kinda realizing that I want this. I'm not patient, but I love to cuddle and keep my space clean. I do need complete darkness to sleep, and my current boyfriend plays on his PC until early, so I'm thinking that maybe separate rooms is the way to go. Not different rooms, but I sleep on the floor. We bought a Casper mattress, and I slept on it with him for almost a year, waking up every day in a little bit more pain than the day before. I slept on the floor, by choice, until I was around 16. I woke up one morning about 6 months ago with my back hurting so bad that ibuprofen couldn't touch, so I slept on the floor that night, and have been every night since. The mattress is too soft. My fiancé and my black lab sleep well enough on it, and I don't wake up feeling like shit. It works for us. My friend married a Japanese man, and they bought super expensive adjustable orthopedic bed. He ended up sleeping on the floor, because it was more comfortable for him, and apparently he was used to it and couldn't get used to the bed. My parents moved into separate rooms when I was in high school, supposedly because of my dad's work schedule, but really it was because they weren't happy with each other and wanted to separate. They waited until I was 18 to finally make it official and get divorced, because they wanted to stay together for me. Funny thing is that my dad still lived with us for 2 years after that, and it sorta worked. A lot of my friends when I was in college assumed that my parents were still together because of this, even though they has officially split years before. This is basically my wife and I mean, we get along fine as parents, but all romantic and sexual feelings are over. I like our family unit, but I wonder what is to come when the kids are grown. Please subscribe. Multiple videos uploaded daily.